I will track you down and I will kill you.
Never call Carmela Soprano an innocent bystander.
You call my house again, you ever speak to one of my children again, I will track you down and I will kill you. We have got guns here.
Tony is evil. The men who surround him are evil. The mafia is at its core an institution built on crime, violence, and exploitation. So where does that leave Carmela?
I don't provide for you.
Now, I saw Angie bumping Sarah today.
But the money.
Who's going to support your children? And me.
Carmela is a hypocrite. She justifies and rationalizes the blood money that funds her luxurious lifestyle. The fur coats, diamond rings, designer clothes, and country club memberships. She knows exactly where it all comes from, and that's the heart of the issue. It's not that she loves nice things. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. The problem is that she's comfortable with what pays for them. If her husband were a doctor or lawyer, this wouldn't even be a question. But she knows Tony's wealth is built on extortion, theft, and murder. And rather than confront that, she chooses to enable it.
The most important thing is that you and Carmela are in agreement on the issues, that you don't undercut each other.
Her role is clear. Provide Tony with the appearance of respectability, a stable home, and a cover for his crimes. She may not pull triggers or break legs, but she benefits from every broken bone and every body that falls. That's complicity.
On the other hand, she's right. Anyway, she's right. That's the point. Over the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of thinking.
Knowing the cost of your lifestyle and choosing to stay is, in itself, a moral failing. Carmela was told as much, bluntly, by a therapist who urged her to leave and save what was left of her children. But she couldn't do it. The perks outweighed the guilt. Could she have chosen differently? Yes. Charmaine did. Charmaine could have had what Carmela had, but walked away because she couldn't live with the blood money. Carmela couldn't bear the thought of living with less, of not having the status and comfort. Carmela isn't evil in the same way Tony or Ralphie are. She isn't cruel, violent, or sadistic, but she is complicit. She knows what her husband is, and she stays. She plays her part, enjoys the benefits, and shields herself from the full weight of guilt with materialism and hollow gestures of virtue. This is the banality of evil. Not the monster with a gun, but the one who looks away, benefits from the harm, and tells herself there's no other way. Never assume Adriana is the most beautiful on The Sopranos. You're missing someone who's way more stunning. Most people will say Adriana, with Melfi or Charmaine as close runners-up.
Those eyes, dark, black eyes. She stares at you. It's like a Spanish princess in one of those paintings, like Goya.
But for me, it's always Gloria. Sure, she's completely unstable, but purely on looks, she's the most stunning. That said, the show had an amazing lineup.
Come on, your house guest. Isabella, dark hair, beautiful. You know what the fuck I'm talking about, do you?
The Italian goddess Tony dreams about at the Cusimano's house, Isabella, is unforgettable. Maria Grazia Cucinotta. Incredible body. Plus, she was in a Bond movie.
Jenny Sacrimoni. What she needs is her own zip code.
Jersey's a small state. She moves in. She could tip it over.
And let's not overlook Ginny Sack. Rubenesque, as Johnny would say. I heard you can fuck her for $1 million. But of course, Johnny wasn't actually trying to cheat. He's making a point. He's talking about his wife's honor here. That scene is classic Johnny Sack, starting off quiet, then erupting at full Jersey volume. Jersey's a small state. She moves in, she could tip it over. Go take a Midol. Nothing but fat and nitrates. Brilliant.
Looking for this Russian. He's a friend of Svetlana Kirilenko. You know, Irina's cousin.
The one-legged woman. I know who she is.
And then there's Svetlana, missing a leg but still irresistible. She's sexy enough, even with one pin gone. I'd spin her right round. And yes, someone even named their Roomba Svetlana. Don't forget Annalisa, the female mob boss in Italy. Absolutely gorgeous. Or the Vegas girl. Or the French hostess from Vesuvio who sold Artie that fake Armagnac. Stunning and sly.
Mostly Rosalie April, Phil's wife.
Who calls on the phone?
Mostly calls soon to be for Anthony.
And what about Rosalie Aprile? Pure Jersey, sharp, good-looking, with that hard edge. Looks aren't everything, someone might argue, but Rosalie is still gorgeous at her age. Definitely a woman who can hold her own. Charmaine Bucco too, She has that real Italian countryside beauty. Think Apollonia in The Godfather. It's a timeless, natural look that's impossible to ignore. And sure, Meadow deserves a mention, especially after season 2. By the time she's with Finn, she looks her best. And of course, there are all the side characters who left their mark. The nurse who looks after Junior, AJ's girlfriend, Felicia with the whale tail, the D girl from Hollywood, and Jojo Palmas. Adriana might still come out on top most of the time, but The Sopranos gave us an entire roster of beautiful, memorable women. Stop wasting time searching for a show as good as The Sopranos. You're chasing something that doesn't exist. And here's the proof. I swear, The Sopranos ruined me for all other TV.
But lately, I'm getting the feeling that I came in at the end. The best is over.
Nothing hits like it. The writing, the acting, the rawness, those dream sequences. Even a rewatch feels fresher than most new shows. It feels like HBO peaked with this one, and it's been downhill ever since. What can you do? And of course, someone will chime in with, "Oh, poor you," as if Tony Soprano personally ruined their attention span.
When he beat the shit out of that guy, I went to the class, I told him how tough my father was.
Born, grew up, spent a few glorious years with The Sopranos, and here you are, a half-wise guy with wrinkles deeper than a mob grave. Nothing compares, so you just keep rewatching like you're trapped in Silvio's coma dream forever. That said, there are a few other shows that might scratch the itch. The Wire, Deadwood, Mad Men, True Detective, S1, The Americans, Rome. But let's not kid ourselves. They're great, sure, but they're not Sopranos great. It's like swapping your favorite Italian restaurant for a fast food joint. Fine in a pinch, but nowhere near as satisfying. And don't even get me started on The Shield. Tried 3 times and it still doesn't do it for me. Mid-season 3, and I'm waiting for that aha moment. Sorry, Vic Mackey just ain't my Tony. Some people swear by it. Me, I'd rather spend my Thursdays watching Jack Bauer kick ass on 24, ridiculous and over the top, but Jack torturing terrorists is its own kind of comfort food. Of course, Mad Men and Breaking Bad are top-notch. Mad Men especially, given its surprise. And yes, The Wire is often held up as the pinnacle of television, and for good reason. It's dense, slow-burning, and deeply immersive once you give it the time. Deadwood? Absolutely worth the profanity-laced trip. Boardwalk Empire? Incredible period detail and real-life gangsters. Succession? Brilliant and sharp, though very different. Twin Peaks? Brilliantly weird and in a class of its own.
Paulie! You had a nightmare, honey.
The Sopranos is like an unforgettable old flame. You can move on, you can appreciate other shows, but they'll never make you feel quite the same. Maybe one day, someone will create a series that matches its brilliance. Until then, keep watching, keep quoting, and when someone asks if anything matches it, tell them to go see Dr. Krakauer. If you're a New Jersey voter wondering why certain politicians seem to get away with anything, you need to hear this. How much power does a state assemblyman like Ronald Zellman actually have? Officially, not much beyond drafting and voting on laws, chairing committees, and making speeches. They don't have the authority to make criminal charges disappear or demote police officers on a whim. Actions like those are the domain of district attorneys, police chiefs, and judges, roles designed to be independent from political meddling for exactly this reason. But real power isn't always about what's written in the rulebook. There's hard power, the stuff an assemblyman can do officially, introduce bills, vote on budgets, chair oversight committees. Then there's soft power, the favors, back-channel phone calls, and mutual back-scratching that really grease the wheels. Assemblymen often have connections with people across government, DAs, police, other officials, built through years of trading favors, sharing political interests, or sometimes holding compromising information.
Doesn't that constitute indecent exposure?
Actually, I no longer need my ticket book. Your friend, the assemblyman, saw to it I was transferred to the property room.
This is why someone in Zellman's position can help with problems like making a legal charge quietly disappear or convincing a department to demote a troublesome cop.
You realize what could have happened to you? We didn't have connections. Some cop goes by the book and they charge him with attempted murder.
He can't order it outright, but he can call in favors, remind people who controls their funding, or hint at future benefits or consequences. If a DA is looking for political support, or a police captain wants his budget passed, they might suddenly see things Zellman's way.
That property's hot because of the Esplanade. We share the Esplanade. We share Zellman. The Soprano family's going to benefit from it. Then Carmine feels we should.
Even the kind of influence needed to steer government contracts or benefit from shady real estate deals, like scooping up land through shell companies, greasing the wheels for construction scams, or writing recommendations for fraudulent loan applications, isn't about official power. It's about being well-connected and willing to bend the rules. Take the situation with AJ. He drops a knife in a psychiatric ward. Serious, but hardly a crime of the century. Officially, he could be charged with something dramatic like attempted murder, but it would be a stretch. It's easy to imagine someone in Zellman's position quietly persuading the authorities to treat it as a youthful mistake and let it slide, especially if no one was hurt and the right people are encouraged to look the other way. The real lesson, the power of a state assemblyman, isn't so much about what they're legally entitled to do, but what they can get done through connections and favors. Committees, budget oversight, and influence over local projects give plenty of leverage, especially in a system where many officials owe each other favors.
Thank you, Assemblyman.
Okay, bye-bye.
Mr. Olmsted called regarding lunch, and he's got the zoning hearing at 4.
Ultimately, it's less about official authority and more about knowing whom to call, how to apply pressure, and when to offer a helping hand, expecting, of course, that the favor will be returned someday. Everyone thinks Carmela would have been happier if Tony had one mistress. Here's why that would have destroyed her faster. Would Carmela have been more accepting if Tony had just one long-term mistress? Unlikely.
You have made a fool of me for years with these whores. Now it's come into our home?
What infuriated her wasn't just Tony's infidelity. It was the endless parade of women, his utter lack of discretion, and the embarrassment that came with it. For Carmela, the issue was never simply the number. It was that she was made to feel like a fool.
But the psychiatrist, she's not just a kumar.
In fact, a single, enduring mistress might have been worse. The idea of Tony having a genuine, ongoing relationship, someone he actually cared about, would have driven her crazy. A long-term gumar isn't just a meaningless fling, it's a real connection, almost a second wife. That's something Carmela could never have brushed aside.
I could deal with the Gumars. I knew I was better than them. As stupid as it sounds, I viewed them as a form of masturbation for him.
She survived by convincing herself these other women were just disposable, insignificant, and beneath her. It was easier to degrade them, to view them as nobodies, than to confront the possibility that Tony might actually love one of them.
For the first time, I feel like he's really cheating, and I'm the one who's thirsty. I'm not going to stay in a marriage that's made.
That's why the threat of someone like Dr. Melfi, who offered Tony something Carmela couldn't, made her even more uneasy than all the strippers and random affairs combined. Tony rarely followed the old-school rules for mistresses. The traditional gumar would be a reliable side piece, someone to take care of a man when he was away from his wife, rewarded with gifts and a taste of the high life. Tony, on the other hand, tended to mix things up, leading women on, blurring the lines, and always falling back on "you knew I was married" when things got complicated. He supported Irina, for example, but even she resented the transactional nature of their relationship. Later, Tony seemed to prefer women with their own independence, like Gloria, Svetlana, and Valentina. Carmela grew up around men like Dicky Moltisanti. She knew exactly what she was getting into, and she rationalized Tony's behavior by telling herself these women didn't matter.
And I'm the one who's thirsty.
If Tony had ever settled down with just one woman on the side, that would have signaled real affection, a loyalty Carmela would have found unbearable. She needed to believe that Tony's affairs were meaningless, just casual sex, to maintain her sense of superiority. Ultimately, nothing would have made Carmela happy about Tony's infidelity. A single, long-term mistress would have been even more threatening, while the endless rotation allowed her to dismiss them as nothing more than passing distractions. Her coping mechanism depended on demeaning Tony's lovers and clinging to the status and security his position provided. The moment one of these women truly mattered to Tony, Carmela's world would have collapsed. Never assume Tony had any real options left in the Sopranos finale, unless you understand why he chose Paulie. By the end of The Sopranos, Tony is essentially scraping the bottom of the crew barrel.
You will give Paulie 5 carpenter jobs. 2 no-shows and 3 no-works. One of the no-shows our friend in Youngstown keeps.
When he offers Paulie 2 crews, it's not a generous promotion, it's a matter of necessity. Paulie is already running his own crew, and then Tony hands him what's left of Ralphie's crew, which later became the Gervasi crew, which had already absorbed the old April crew. With most of the family dead, jailed, or in a coma, Tony doesn't have many options left.
All night in this fucking ho-ho.
Paulie hesitates at first because the April crew is practically cursed. Captains either die or flip.
I'm sorry, sir. They're still not.
This is cancer we're talking about.
I understand. You'll have to call back tomorrow.
Don't touch the lemon rind with your fingers.
Only when Tony hints that Patsy might take it, especially since Patsy's son is engaged to Meadow, does Paulie agree. By this point, Paulie ends up overseeing most of what's left of the family, about 3 crews, and he's also the one who was known for leaking information. At this stage, the family is severely depleted. Silvio is in a coma, Bobby and Christopher are dead, and Carlo is cooperating with the feds. That leaves Paulie as the highest-ranking member still active. Tony Black or Walden Belfiore could rise up. Patsy could take the old Soprano crew or act as consigliere, but that's the entire bench.
Is he a criminal mastermind?
That's right. And once you found out, instead of putting him in the ER, you should have come to me. He says he's going to kill you on it.
And as for Benny Fazio, he was a minor player who mostly served as Christopher's sidekick. Without Christopher around to protect him, his prospects for moving up were limited. By the end, Paulie controls most of what's left of the organization, simply because there's no one else. Thanks for spending time with Sopranos Breakdown. I'm Matthew, and if you enjoyed this, a like means the world. Let's aim for 1,000, but no pressure, just glad you're here. Subscribe if you'd like to stick around.